committed to pass our condolences, but at the same time to ensure that we intensify our work to make our roads safe and ensure that we entrench law enforcement in our roads. We know that that work, law enforcement officers, yourselves, you cannot do it on your own. Often when there is an accident or people have died, the first call and blame is to the traffic officers to say "Nabevali kai" when people died. But we as society, we don't take responsibility for butawa baruna mo ditseleng. We don't take responsibility for our reckless driving. We don't take responsibility to ensure that we respect the law and to understand the law and internalize it. Nobody takes responsibility. But when everything else is said and done, people have passed on, we blame it on the officers. We don't take responsibility for our unroadworthiness of our cars. Some of the cars people drive in the roads are moving coffins. They are moving coffins. You get into a taxi, you get into a minibus, you get into your bus. All what you are getting to is to going straight to the graveside. Society does not take responsibility to say that, what am I getting myself into? For us to win the war against road fatalities and the carnage in our road, it starts first with us to take responsibility, to ensure that the cars that we drive are roadworthy and that those who drive us are abiding with the laws of the country. We cannot go on with lawlessness, undermining the law and putting the lives of our people at risk. As we speak, 24 and more people died on the road, and even more elsewhere in the country on the spot, and majority of them are young people. You can imagine when you are raising a child and all what you come to encounter is their death at the hands of reckless driving. And I'm not saying that there's been recklessness. Actions have been taken by the authorities to ensure that very soon we'll announce the report of what exactly happened this past weekend, so that history will record as to what happened exactly when so many people died in our roads. But the law must equally bite. There must be consequences. When you do all the things that are unlawful, there must be consequences for those who does so. So it means the law must bite. The law must bite. The law must make it difficult for anyone who think of breaking the law to think that there are no consequences. As we speak, there is a bill before the president that he must sign that will ensure that if you get drunk, you do all the wrong things behind the wheel, there will be consequences, including demerit, to ensure that we take your driver's license away, among others. There should be consequences of that nature. But over and above that, we need to improve the conditions of work of our traffic officers, of which is the point that we are committed to undertake. Because in your hands, you carry goodwill, and saving the lives of ordinary South African. An angry traffic officer will be susceptible to wrongdoing. Not that it is justifiable, but the same rule that govern the police and those who maintain law and order must govern our public traffic officers wherever they are, at the municipality, at the provincial level, and at the national level. The same rule book must govern all of us the same way. And we need to improve the conditions of employment for all of you. And that is very important for us because you are saving lives. If you are compromised and you allow people to hijack you in the course of duty, you will not be in a position to maintain law and order. We need a morale in terms of the work that we do. When we say no to reckless driving on the road, they must know when they see a police officer, an officer of the law must be respected. Not even an attempt must be made to think that you can bribe an officer of the law. In that way, you are undermining the rule of law and the rule of law in the country. And we must do away with that. And those who undertake to undermine the rule of law in South Africa must meet the consequences of the ruthlessness of the law, because on your hands depends many lives that should be saved. You can imagine if somebody passes a roadblock through a bribe and causes an accident elsewhere because he or she was drunk and managed to escape because he bribed a police officer. That person could be destined to killing your own father, your own mother, your own wife, your own girlfriend, and your whole family could be in danger because of allowing just an individual to surpass the laws of the country and an officer of the law to go and commit an act of criminality. It is an act of criminality to be in the road and undermine the laws of our country. The laws of our country from Cape to Limpopo must abide, and the laws of our country enforced by our officers must be ruthless when it comes to those who don't abide with the laws of the country on the roads. And I'm here today to salute you for the good work that you are doing to maintain law and order in our roads. Let us not allow individuals with intentions of undermining the rule of law to undermine the good work that you are doing. Some of you work overtime, and I know that overtime get to be paid for. But we need to adjust. We need to adjust, and we need to do a whole lot of other things to change the way a traffic officer is treated in South Africa, and in particular in our country. And I can assure you, as the minister and the MCs throughout the country, we are going to do the best for you in the next coming years whilst we are still in this particular portfolio. You must be valued for the good work that you do with working with all the other law enforcement agencies to ensure that we rid ourselves in our roads of lawlessness and we maintain law and order. There will be consequences. The law will bite to ensure that we do things differently. I know here in Limpopo, in particular here in Limpopo, there are law enforcement officers who were trained and who are supposed to be employed. And I've been assured by the MEC today that those more than 200 officers who are supposed to be employed in the new financial year from December, they will indeed be confirmed in the system. We want to increase boots on the ground, because the numbers are not equal to the growing populace in our country. I've been briefed by the head of RMT's RT hey lento ayikolula njenge SAPS man RTMC. Yes, the CEO briefed me that we've got 22,000 officers on the ground, and those numbers need to increase for the better. And we need to look at regulating the hours of work, because even the accident that occurred here in Limpopo, it happened way after 10 o'clock when most of you have knocked off. And people start to ask, Ebeguphi amaphoyisa? Kanti they don't know you knock off at 10. And criminals study the modus operandi. They know ukuthi hayi ngo 10 o'clock akho traffic mfana masingene. Let's go and do what we want. And they don't know that you work strict numbers because you are governed by PFMA. And that is what is important. Over time, we need to look into that. Conditions of service, we need to look into that. We want police officers, traffic officers, 24/7 on the ground. And ningas fihli. Don't hide yourself. Ungaveli nje sovela. Hey, stop. Kudala ningmisa man. Ningmisa nje senigijima nje in front of the car. They must know that this road, N3, N1, R whatever, 81, there are police officers on the ground and arrest. And they must be seen. And it must be known. All the unroadworthy cars on our roads must be out of the way. They must be out of the way. Trucks, that include trucks. And in that way, don't take bribes. Don't. The truck is illegal on the road. It must be off the road. And I can assure you that there will be serious consequences for those who undermine the rule of law in our country. And we need to work together with all other law enforcement agencies to ensure that we bring the perpetrators to book. And I want to conclude by saying that we are committed as a country, as a ministry, in ensuring that our roads are well maintained and at the same time they are well policed from Cape to Limpopo and even beyond. And that's what we're going to do. I want to conclude by thanking you for your selfless service, because the job you do is a thankless job. There's nobody who's going to come to you and say, officer, you have done a good job. There's nobody. Others want favors from you. There's nobody. And I want to thank you today on behalf of our government for maintaining law and order in our roads under difficult circumstances. And we intend to make it easier and enjoyable for you. The only person I saw being celebrated as a traffic law enforcement officer is the lady in Johannesburg who wrote a ticket to somebody and gave that particular somebody a good lecture about the law. That lady was trending for days and have been loved by society. Our people love a state of law, not lawlessness. And I think as you do well, our people will appreciate you. The majority of people in South Africa love the rule of law. And the rotten apples are just but a few who are promoted from time to time. And I know, and I'm saying it from the honest spirit and from the deepest soul, to say to you, we know the good work that you are doing. We know the selfless work that you are doing. The job you are doing is a thankless job. And you are doing it with dedication. And some of you have been doing it for years. And nobody have ever come to you and say thank you. And we are here now, and we are here to work with you and to ensure that South Africa, in Limpopo and everywhere else, the roads are well maintained. The rule of law is guiding us in everything else that we do. If we do our work properly, we'll save a lot of lives on the road. It's like police officers. They say, Minister, criminals have got more rights than us. Before we shoot, we need to think 20 times because we are governed by the Constitution. Human rights. We've got to think about lives. Criminals have got rights more than police officers. They've got the right to pull out the gun and kill an innocent police officer. Just like a drunken, reckless driver can kill a law enforcement officer on the road. This past weekend in the Eastern Cape, I went to bury a traffic officer who was killed alongside the road by a reckless taxi driver. Killed and not obeying the rules of the road. But it must be known, to take out a gun, to shoot or to kill an officer of the law, it's a criminal act that must be punished by the laws of our country. Like it happens everywhere in the world. You can never touch a police officer on duty in uniform and there will be no consequences. They can never. When you stand on the road and raise your hand and say stop, you must stop because that is the law. And you must account for what you have actually done. And that is the South Africa we are building going forward. We want spirited, we want accountable, we want disciplined police officers who are in order and understand their role in maintaining law and order. We will meet you halfway in terms of government and your leadership. That's what we must do. We must protect you. And we must ensure a good employment conditions wherever you are working in our country, all over South Africa, so that we can stop the carnage in our road. But we will not be in a position to do it alone. Society must come to the party and join hands in working with you. We must first start with us and take responsibility for our deeds on the road. If you accept to be driven by a drunken person and a reckless driver, you must understand that the consequences are dire, because the consequences might lead to death, because you are all in concert. And I want to speak to the youth. We know it is good to have fun and enjoy, but equally when you do that, you must remember that South Africa is not a lawless country. You must know that as much as you can enjoy and go to the parties and so on, you don't have to drown yourself there. Remember that the roads and the laws of the country must be respected. And officers, those who don't respect the laws, don't hesitate to bring them to book. And I am saying this today after so many people perished this past weekend here in Limpopo and elsewhere in the country. May their souls rest in peace. And let us work together to make our country a better country and ensuring that we maintain law and order. Let us become peace soldiers in ensuring that we respect the badge, we respect the flag, we respect the national anthem of South Africa, and respect our country in that particular way. And if you respect the badge, you respect the uniform, you respect yourself. If you are an officer of the law, and then they say attention, and the aeroplane is just passing above you like nothing is happening, you must know you have chosen the wrong profession. So pangela nje, so ya mrekon just because ulata salary, but your heart is no longer there. If you are here because profession of the police, nurses, and doctors, this is a calling. You can imagine the people you see on the road in accidents, drunken people and all of that. It's a calling. It needs determination. It's not a job you can do because you simply earn a salary. You are getting out there to risk your life to prevent any fatality that can happen in the road. And you do it with love. Because your child, your family members could die if ever you are not executing your job. But you are doing this job because you have chosen a profession. Not because, no, it's part of adding numbers. I'm unemployed. Okay, let me just become a traffic officer. It can be like that, but over time, you learn and appreciate. Traffic officer is equal, even police officer is equal to a social worker. You are changing the lives of the people for the better. If it is said the speed limit, it is 30 or 20, whatever, it must be adhered to. And that is it. And the officer of the law must maintain that things do happen in terms of the respect for the rule of law. And I want to wish you and commend you to good health and commend you to good work that you are doing everywhere else where you are deployed. Our offices are opened for engagement, but over and above that, it is important to maintain law and order on the roads of South Africa. Our people are dying like flies because of recklessness. And we need to maintain law and order at all material times in the areas where people live. And I want to conclude once more by thanking you and thanking you once more a great deal. You are doing an important work for South Africa. You are doing an important work for your families. You are doing an important work for our citizens. And please respect that and maintain that to heart, because that is an important job. Others may not appreciate that, but we do. And we're going to ensure that this profession is actually respected worldwide. And that is what is important for South Africa and our country. I want to thank you and thank you for the service that you give to our people and to our great nation. Thank you very much.
Let's work together. Good. Attention.